If they do that, the Cougs will be very, 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 very tough to beat.
Off the window, no. Roberts tried to get it. Shed for the win. Got it.
Just with 14 points, but you just look, the way that he dominated the game was in controlling the pace and making smart decision after decision.
Call them by Slamma Jamma.
Go to pizza spot before or after.
The dream is alive for Houston. Go Cougs! Let's go!
Go Cougs. Welcome into another episode of Let's Rage Coogs, presented by the Saxenian Family. And a big thank you to our secondary sponsor today, Star Pizza. And we are coming off the heels of the 7th ranked team in the country, the Houston Cougars men's basketball team, who had a dominant victory over the Hofstra Pride. The final score was 80-44 in favor of the U of H Cougars, and it was a hell of a night for JoJo Tugler, who had a career high in points, 17, was perfect from the field, 6 for 6, hit 2 3-pointers to go along with that, and was 3 for 5 from the free throw line, had 4 rebounds, 4 assists, and he did it in just 17 minutes. This was clearly JoJo Tugler's best game at the collegiate level so far at this point for the Cougars. Emmanuel Sharp had a good outing for Houston as well. He had 16 points, 5 of 6 from the field, was perfect from behind the 3-point line, 5 for 5 on long distance shots. He had 2 rebounds, 2 assists himself. And the other Cougar that finished in double figures when it came to scoring wise, Terrence Arsenal, he had 12, 5 of 7 shooting. He had 3 rebounds, and really, when you look top to bottom, the Cougars offensively continue to actually be one of the best 3-point shooting teams in the country. That finished 12 for 24 from behind the 3-point line as a team. Overall shot 50%, and we'll get into everything that happened between Houston's game against Hofstra right now in a bit. But joining me as always, Dayon Dunlap. Dayon, how you doing, sir?
Doing pretty good, man. It was definitely a dominant win. Not really any contest at all, but I'm doing pretty good, man. Definitely JoJo's coming out party, feels like.
Yeah, let's get into it because Houston, they jumped on them almost pretty much from the jump. They jumped out to a 15-6 lead and never looked back. And their defense was phenomenal against Hofstra. At one point, for an overwhelming majority of the game, they had forced Hofstra to have more turnovers than made field goals. And at the very end, Hofstra was able to get over the hump. They finished with 16 made baskets, only 15 turnovers. But, I mean, the Cougars, phenomenal defense. This was a Hofstra team that was receiving votes in the national polls of being a ranked team. They came in to the game 4-1 with a 4-1 record, and the Cougars, well, they absolutely dominated them, especially in that first half, outscoring them 48-18. But I mean, we got to start with JoJo Tugler and the phenomenal game that he had for the Cougars.
Yeah, JoJo, for me, it's just confidence. He doesn't lack confidence. He has a lot of confidence. And that's why, just going back to last year, when we seen him take his first 3, he was wide open, didn't hesitate, let it go, didn't make it. Tonight, got him wild. These are practice looks. This is literally practice shots. You catch it, no one's right in front of you, and his release looks good. But the more of it is his confidence. He's letting it go. And I love his interview after. He was like, "Hey, I was wide open. I made the first with Coach C. I mean, I let it go." And so that's the main thing. But it's like with every other way to impact the game, he does that. But tonight it was with skill, whether we're shooting the ball around the basket, turning the finish with his left hand, and catching a oop. Like it was skill. And I think and really just kudos to the coaching staff for Houston. Coach Kellen working with him. I know he works with the fours a lot. And his development is faster than what I thought it would be, because it was primarily just his God-given athletic ability, his length, impact of plays, getting the steals, and that. But he continues to develop at the rate with his skill and being able to be an offensive threat like he was tonight. Although it was basically a scrimmage. It seemed like he looks really well.
One of the other things that the Cougars did really well in this game was assisting the ball. They were creating a lot of good shots for their teammates. And on the 29 made field goals that the Cougars had, 20 of those came off of assists, off of setups from their teammates. Milos Uzan, who didn't necessarily particularly have a strong shooting night from the field, did a great job being a distributor himself, had 6 assists and garnered 5 rebounds as well. But going back to your point about JoJo Tugler, and you said confidence, that was something that was mentioned on the broadcast, the stream on ESPN Plus, but they were really raving around about JoJo Tugler and how they said that they expected just one of these days for it to just click for him. And in this game against Hofstra, it certainly looked like that was a little bit of his coming out party, which I use that loosely because we knew how good he was going back to last season when he was a true freshman. Really, we saw the flashes going back to the red and white scrimmage that they had before they even went on their overseas trip a year ago. And really, it's kind of starting to be refined in this game. And Dayon, the other thing you mentioned about the post-game interview in the stream, I found it interesting. They interviewed head coach Kelvin Sampson right after, and Houston won 80-44, and he got on Jawan Roberts and Javier Francis in that post-game interview. Said he didn't feel like they came out with the right mindset, with the right attitude to start the second half, and so he sat him. And when you look at the minutes, Javier Francis only 15, Jawan Roberts 17 in a lopsided win. Just goes to show not only what Kelvin Sampson and the culture, and that he doesn't waver, non-negotiable for him, but it doesn't matter who it is. Jawan Roberts has been for this program for years.
Yeah, and that's coaching, but that's easy to do when you're playing Hofstra.
Yeah.
I almost can guarantee if this was Auburn or another team like Alabama, they wouldn't be sitting. But as coaches talk a game like this, you let your bench play, let them play a lot. That's why you get the bench points that you get, and you can have teachable moments like that. And I'm sure there is something on the field that he can coach with, but to me, why he wouldn't do that in a Big 12 in a different game with a better competition.
Well, looking at the others, Emmanuel Sharp, once again, he was locked in from long range. Like I mentioned at the top of the show, it was perfect, 5 for 5 from the 3-point line. Some of those threes were deep threes as well. And one of the things that Houston did really well, like I mentioned, when it came to assisting the ball, was honestly just dissecting the zone defense that Hofstra was running for most of that night, where they were just finding the weak spots. It looked like for the overwhelming majority of the game, the Cougars were just moving at a different speed, at a different gear than
And moving the ball fast. That's how they were getting
exactly.
those shots. Moving the ball, and one way to beat the zone is move the ball extra pass. And like you just said, they were moving at a faster pace, and that was the ball movement. And they had good spacing. And I mean, it was cool. I've seen this from Emmanuel before. I need more of it. I'm not really good game, but it's Hofstra. I need more from Emmanuel. I need more. Like I said this last couple of weeks. That's cool against Hofstra. It's good to see him get going. Maybe he can catch his rhythm and keep it going like I know he can do. But I need more.
And what did you see from Terrence Arsenal? Like I said, another strong
Yeah.
outing from him, especially in the first half. But really, when it comes to Terrence Arsenal, kind of same thing along with JoJo Tugler. But again, good to see him kind of continue to get in rhythm. And I think the key thing for him is doing it on a consistent basis, regardless of opponent. Going back last season, and even when he was a freshman, there would be games here and there where, again, he showed his potential. He just wasn't able to string together a couple of good performances in multiple games, and we're starting to see that from him. Now, obviously, the big test for Houston is going to be this upcoming Tuesday when they play Alabama in Las Vegas, and we're going to see how the team looks. Really, their first big challenge since that Saturday night game against Auburn a few weeks back. But positive to see, again, Terrence Arsenal being able to string these strong performances in back-to-back outings.
Yeah, I think a game like this was definitely good for him. I mean, to play the minutes that he played and be able just to build their confidence, build his game. I don't want to say his game experience, but game experience because he's still relatively young player, basically still a sophomore. And so it was good to see. And one thing I'm noticing is his defense. I mean, his versatility, what he can guard, the way he can get in the pass lane, get steals, and finish in the open floor. And I think I think that area, that ability with him, they switch a lot more because they have the versatility on the perimeter. But I think for Terrence, it was a good game. It was good to see him find his rhythm, play a lot of minutes, and I can definitely see his teammates know what he can do. They believe in him, and now it's just kind of see him, like you said, be consistent. That's what we're looking for. I don't want to say the expectation, but it is the expectation because we see the potential. Now it's like him turning that corner, that potential kind of coming into fruition and coming out like we see with JoJo. And I think Terrence, I think he's right there. He's coming off a whole horrific injury as far as the Achilles, but I
Mhm.
definitely like what I see with a Terrence. I think it's all coming together. I think he's playing his way back into just a good rhythm.
Put a pause right there for a second. We'd like to thank each and every single person that's joining us on this Friday night for the Let's Rage Coogs post-game show presented by the Saxenian Family. We'll take this time to thank our sponsors for today's episode, beginning with Steve Saxenian, who is the primary sponsor of not only tonight's episode, but each and every single football and men's basketball post-game show. We'll be right back at it tomorrow, roughly, honestly, around this time following Houston Baylor and what the contest they have out on the gridiron at TDECU Stadium, the final home game of the year for the Houston Cougars. They'll be decked out in their Houston blue attire. So I already seen photos of the field. It looks good. So going out TDECU Stadium, be sure to join us tomorrow. If you just watch on television, be sure to join us shortly after the game for Let's Rage Cougs, following all things Cougars and Bears on their senior night for U of H. And of course, we also like to say thank you to Star Pizza for being a sponsor on today's episode of Let's Rage Cougs. And similar to like to say, the Saxenian Family, Star Pizza has been there with us all season long with 3 locations throughout the Houston area. Star Pizza is your go-to stop before or after the game for some delicious pizza going back to 1976. A local business that has thrived as always. They really tout their free delivery. They have a variety of offerings. Be sure to follow them on social media at Star Pizza HOU. They're constantly coming up with new specials, new deals, and most definitely be sure to check them out on Tuesdays and Fridays during lunchtime for their all-you-can-eat pizza buffet, which I can speak from personal experience. You won't be disappointed from that buffet. So big thank you to both of those sponsors on today's episode of Let's Rage Cougs. And again, a big thank you to everybody that's tuning in for on our platforms here on this Friday night. Nathan McCleskey says major step forward for JoJo tonight. GRX Engine, JoJo number 11. Dan, I want to get your thoughts on this comment from Mr. Big Texco. So what about LJ Cryer? He's our senior and has not looked so far, but I'm assuming he has not looked good so far is what he's saying, but hopefully he gets it going. Look at his stats from tonight. Didn't have a good shooting night. Cryer did 8 points,
Did
only
we lose it?
3% shooting from the field, 2 for 8 from the 3-point line, and had 3 rebounds, 3 assists. What are your thoughts on that comment from Mr. Big Texco? Dan, can you hear me?
I can hear you now. It just started
Oh, cut
buffering on
off.
my end, but well, yeah, but the internet is good.
Oh,
But about LJ, I think that's
mm-hmm.
where we were, right?
Yep.
LJ, man, he had great looks, open looks in the first half tonight. They just missed. That's just the name of the game. And but second half, he was able to get some shot. I'm not really worried about LJ. I think he'll be there in the moments when Houston needs him. I think in games like this, I think it should be more of a. Well, maybe it is. I don't know because I'm not in the coaching huddles. I don't know if they are making the efforts to get him the ball, to get him in the spots to be a better 2-point scorer. I know in those moments when he's catching and shooting, he's going to be there. He's going to make those big shots. but just a little bit more comfortable with the ball in his hands and making more decisions in games like this. I would like to see that a little bit more. But I'm not worried about LJ. He hasn't had that big game yet, but I know I'm confident. I would say that LJ get it going here soon.
And the one thing that Kelvin Sampson and the staff will definitely also focus on and tout, his defense has been great so far
It has.
to begin the season. So that's the thing he can control. I agree with you, Dayon. Eventually the shots will fall for LJ. It's just a matter of time, and maybe it'll be in a big test that Houston faces this upcoming Tuesday against Alabama. They're definitely going to need him in those type of games to produce more consistently on the offensive basis. Wanda Polk says it was a fun game at the Fertitta Center. Yeah, Crabtree says UH defense was extremely good today. Again, for most of the game tonight, Hofstra had more turnovers than they had made field goals until towards the very tail end of the game. A lot of potential offensively for this team. And I think the interesting part about this Houston Cougars team is that clearly, not to get into coach speak, but there's so much potential just in terms of this team is still learning how to play with each other. They haven't had a full team even throughout practices going back to October because of injuries that they faced to different players. Even going there, you can go down the list top to bottom of the injuries that a lot of players are coming back from, but think about the potential by the time February, March roll around, and these players, this team has been playing with each other for an extended period of time, how good they could be offensively, which they show flashes. Like I said, they're top team when it comes to 3-point shooting efficiency in the country, and they have a lot more shooters around. They can do a lot of damage for this team. I think it's interesting to see how they put it all together and how they continue to improve through the season, because they do have a lot of potential, and then it should get you excited as a UH fan for what they can do, especially once Big 12 conference play starts and they start to get tested night in and night out.
Yes, a lot of potential there. Ready for the game against Alabama. I think that's going to be another good early season test, especially with their guards led by Bar Sears. I mean, he's really good, and so I'm excited. I think this team with the potential depth that they can have, but it's so early in the season. It's not really much to take away. It's just really kind of learning the team with the
Hmm.
games like this. And see, kind of projecting and kind of imagining what they can do. This game, they're still learning the rotation. I think it's got a few more games, Coach Sampson and players that they'll play into their roles and they'll settle into their roles for this team and kind of get into a rotation and kind of get that chemistry. Because like you said, they're mixing practice. They haven't really had that camaraderie to build it all together, and you can't really see it in games like this. But if you really watch your team, you can really see it. And so, I'm excited for this team. I think they have a ton of potential. I would like to see them get really up this weekend against the next opponent.
Yeah, Crabtree brings up a great point. Says the next 3 games will be very interesting for Houston. This is a great point. Hofstra did. There was one key area in this game that Hofstra gave Houston problems was on the glass, particularly when it comes to holding Houston off of the offensive rebound. Houston only had 10.
Yeah,
And we know that from years past, one of the things that Kelvin Sampson really likes to the magic number for Houston is getting around half offense rebounds, half of the misses that they make. So
that's kind of
Houston
true.
missed
But J1
30.
and JVR didn't really play that
Right,
much, and so like
right.
you really
But
take that
let's
with a
see.
grain of salt.
Houston missed 33 shots, 10 offensive rebounds. So under the benchmark that Calvin Sampson said in the past, that's a great point about Jawan and JVR not being there. But with whoever's out there on the floor, rebounding is going to be a priority for the Cougars. Front court's got to play better against tougher competition, but hard to get upset with much on this game. Balanced and sharp. Again, these next 3 games are going to be true test for the Cougars, and we'll see how they match up and how they've grown compared to their last really true test against Auburn a couple weeks. With that being said, we're gonna bringing Kris Gardner of the Houston Roundball Review, who's joining us live from the Fertitta Center at the University of Houston campus. Kris, how you doing, sir?
I'm doing all right, battling allergies, but I'm doing okay. And since you guys touched on it, I think what I just heard, question for you. Coach Sampson asked all of us in post game, how many games did Alabama lose last season? What was the record? That's the one that was a question he put to us, and he had us Google it because he had a point to make.
Real quick. You know what? Let me Google it. But they lost like
But I'm going to play the clip. The answer, the person gave the answers, but let me see if I can just pull it up, see if you can guess it, because I'll tell you. I mean, because I knew they lost 5 non-conference games last season. 5.
I don't know. They lost like.
They were 25-12.
Well, I was gonna say 10, but yeah.
So
not counting the NCAA tournament.
So, and of course, I think my file saved somewhere I didn't want it to be saved. Let me see. There we go. All right.
2011.
So yeah. So that's the point he wanted to make to everyone about last season, and they made the Final Four. Okay, they lost that many. They lost 11 times. 5 non-conference games. They lost 5 non-conference games. So Coach Sampson's point: if you're a good team, you play good competition non-conference. The sky is not falling if you lose in non-conference games. Here's the clip. Here we go. Here's the comment. Here we go.
Got it. You got it? 25-12. Did you guys know that was a record? They went to the Final Four. They lost 12 games. Think about that. They lost 5 in the non-conference. You know, if we played let's say Houston, Auburn, Alabama, Creighton, Arizona, Kansas, Baylor, we played each other non-conference. Somebody's probably going to lose 4 or 5 games, and probably is going to make some kind of statement about, well, they're not that good. How do you know? You've got 4 more months to work and get better. You know, that's why I scheduled Auburn. I thought we were good enough to win that game, and we were. We led it for 26 minutes. We had the lead under 4 minutes to go. We were right there. We could have won that game. But Auburn played better than we did on November 9th. They were better than us. We could play really good on what night we play Alabama? Tuesday. We could play really good on Tuesday and lose that game. And what does that mean? Doesn't mean anything. That's why you play those games. You know, you've got to understand what it is from our side. You know, we don't jump off cliffs around here when we lose the game. That's why I wanted you to know Alabama lost 12 games, went to the Final Four. They lost 5 non-conference games. You know, I saw I didn't realize the Maui field was as good as it was. I saw Iowa State, North Carolina, Auburn, Memphis, UConn. Somebody's going to walk out there with 2 losses. It's really good. You know what it means? Nothing. You're in a conference. When you put yourself out there against the really good teams, you're saying we can lose that game, but can we learn from it? You know, look at our bench right now. I think we've learned something from every game we've played. That's why I wish we had played some more. But this team will keep getting better, regardless of whether they're winning or losing to the really good teams. And there's teams in Vegas that can beat us. Now, we can beat them too. But we've got 11 non-conference games. We want to be playing our best basketball. Now, if we happen to catch some strays along the way, then so be it. It's never bothered me losing games in November. And 40 years of doing this stuff, I've never cared much about how we do in November. And if you think you've got a really good team, then schedule really good teams that can beat you, test you. You know, so I see some teams have 11 games that they're going to win by 40. And then there's somebody's going to think they're better than they actually are. But you're not. Sometimes it's better to be 8-3 or 6-5 than it is to be 11-0 because of who you play. Play these good teams They get you better and they get you ready. Playing Auburn helped us. And we won the game, it would have helped us the same way it did when we lose it. That's why I don't overreact to that stuff. In football, you've got that college football playoff stuff, so losing the game is tricky for football. Losing the game means nothing in basketball.
So there you go. And to wrap it up, until March, as the coach said, until losing games in March in basketball, that's when they get you. That's when it matters. But he said what I've said on here. It's my old brain saying it. They lose on Tuesday to Alabama. So you got to get better. Tuesday, Wednesday, Saturday, December, January, February, on and on. I want them to win 6 games in the tournament. That's what I'm waiting on. Win 6 games in the tournament. They lose Alabama, but win the chip. We won't care about that at all. If we cut down the nets in San Antonio, no one will care. No Cougar fan will care. That's what I want us to get to. Understand this. This program has come so far. They're ranked top 10 consistently. Fans are woe is me losing to Auburn. So what? Lose Alabama. So what? The goal is to win 6 straight games in the tournament. That is the goal for this team. And Coach Sampson said it again. The reason he scheduled these games, these tough opponents, non-conference, is he believes this team is good. And this team can be special. And that's what I want fans to understand and wrap their heads around. This team can be special. And let's focus on that. And we can talk about Mercy Miller having 9 rebounds. And he said after the game, he got a chance to sign the bubble because he got 6 boards, at least 6. He was happy about that. Mercy Miller has already bought into the culture that he was happy to sign the bubble. Not about his scoring, about getting 9 rebounds.
Yeah, it was a game where, if you really want to be picky, he kind of struggled shooting from the field, but now he's able to impact the game in more ways than just scoring, which, like you said, Kris, him buying into the culture, that's huge already. So early, not even into December, and you can tell by the way he talks whenever he's talking, he's 100% bleeding Houston Cougars red at this point.
Yeah. And JG, I don't know your age, but Coach Sampson's been coaching almost 40 years. He's at a point in his life. He's not worried about losing November. It's a big deal. He's not going to get fired because he loses in November. There are different coaches, and he touched on it. There are coaches early in their programs at some jobs where they want to, quote unquote, build confidence in their players and schedule cream puffs and cupcakes and sisters of the poor and go undefeated. And fans are all happy and hyped up. Woohoo! Come conference play. To get the asses handed to them. Didn't learn crap. But hey, they won non-conference games. This program is beyond that.
Kris, overall, what are your thoughts on what you saw from the game? Obviously, big night from JoJo Tugler. Terrence Arsenal looked good. Emmanuel Sharp shot the ball really well. What are your overall thoughts? And it was a very quick game. It finished before 9 o'clock. I haven't seen the game wrap up that quickly in a minute.
It was quick. I liked the defensive rotations from the team. JoJo, he was perfect on the floor, right? That may not happen again this season for him.
6 for 6.
But that's okay. He made his 2 threes. You can see his improvement and his confidence in his game, but you can also see his benefit and value to the team and what could have been last year if he were healthy and Terrence were healthy. That's one thing Coach Sampson said at the beginning of tonight's post-game press conference. Last year's team got as far as it could with the players it had left. But that team had a high ceiling with Terrence Arsenault and JoJo healthy. This team has a high ceiling if those guys stay healthy. But we never know. We've had a cloud, and I'm saying we as a Cougar alum, we've had a cloud hang over us, that injury bug. If the injuries don't happen this year, who knows what could happen? They could get those 6 wins. This team, and I think that's what fans really need to wrap their heads around and accept. This team, Coach Sampson's program now, is a contender for national championships. That's what he's established now. Now you get breaks, get healthy, you get hot, the other team go cold. somebody rolls an ankle for the opponent, their best player, and the Cougs are healthy this year, who knows what can happen? This team has a chance to win the chip, and I think that's something that everybody should be happy about how far this program has come. I don't know how the age of some of our viewers on the LRC, but I'm old enough to be there in the Ray McCallum days when there's nobody here in the building. The Clyde Drexler days when there was all hype and nothing behind it, and folks stopped coming to the games. That's why I am enjoying this second golden era of Houston Cougars men's basketball.
Hopefully, this era ends in a championship.
Yes,
Because it's cool and dandy. Hey, Sweet 8 and Sweet 16. We pray. I mean, it's good. It's good to be celebrated because we can definitely not be making a tournament. So I don't want to undermine that or act like that isn't a good achievement. But I want a natty as a fan and an alum.
And the coaches do too. The players do too. And I mean, we want it. Y'all have heard me say it. I think I've told y'all on the show and privately. If the Cougs win the chip, I will act ignorant. I will put down my credential, look around for somebody to hug, and who knows what else, man, if that happens. That's what I want to happen for this program.
Well, on the topic of that, we know Houston's going to get tested real quickly, multiple times over the course of the next week, beginning November 22 against Alabama.
26, November 26.
November 26. Yeah, today's November 22. This upcoming Tuesday, against Alabama. Alabama Crimson Tide, like you mentioned, met the Final Four a year ago. They're a really, really good team again this year. How will Houston
have they already lost?
Crimson Tide?
Haven't they already lost this season?
They're 4-1. Yes, so yes, they have lost.
So, but they still have
a good team, to Purdue. 13th ranked Purdue.
And Purdue, I think, put it to them. But Alabama still has a good team. Okay,
87-78.
So I'm just saying, I'm looking forward to the matchup. Yeah, I'm looking forward to the matchup on Tuesday. The front court, the back court. Bama has an All-American guard, Mark Sears. I'm looking forward to how Los does against him. And a competition, that's what I'm looking forward to. What is it, 7:30 our time on Tuesday? It's a Wednesday. We're going to do a Let's Rage Coogs after Wednesday's game, fellas.
Yes, sir.
With 11:30 start. Oh, man. That's like 1:30, 2 o'clock in the morning, boy. So, yeah.
When we commit to every game.
Yep.
Every game.
I'm looking forward to it. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it too, man. I think this is the game. I think one of our somebody commented earlier about LJ, and I kind of was saying I wasn't worried, and I'm not worried. But in the game, against a matchup against an All-American guard, and LJ being a seer that he is, being a projected All-American, these are those type of games I look for him to kind of set the tone and lead the way in having a good game.
And I hope it's another game where it kind of comes down to the wire and we can kind of see how Houston executes down the stretch compared to how they executed against Auburn down the stretch.
I hope so. I hope LJ, what was it? Until the final minute of the game against Auburn, he missed 7 straight shots. And most of those shots were good shots. They rolled out, they were short. If he gets those same shots on Tuesday and they go in, then that'll help the Cougs' chance to win the game.
Also got to find ways to impact the game offensively when you're not scoring, though, as well, though. That's part of, with him being a senior and having aspirations to be a pro, in my opinion, of watching basketball all my life and knowing basketball, he got to be able to do that at a better rate, higher rate, more consistently and efficiently, especially good competition.
Yep.
And Emmanuel, too. Same thing with him.
Agreed.
In my opinion.
And I'm looking forward to seeing how Emmanuel, he has a knack so far of making threes in big games. Let's see him add to that. Let's see him get to the line. Let's see him attack the basket, get the opponent in foul trouble, be facilitator if need be. the overall competition on Tuesday is what I'm looking forward to. One thing, I'd be disappointed either way and surprised if it's a blowout either way.
Agreed. And I don't expect it to be. I think that game is going to come down to the last handful of minutes. And Crabtree's high on the potential of this team. Thinks offensively and defensively they have the potential to beat anybody.
I'm also looking forward to that Grant Nelson and JoJo matchup.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Them the two pros right there. I'm looking forward to that matchup too. I want to see how Nelson plays against JoJo length and athleticism, because that's something he'll see at the next level. And JoJo playing against a player like Nelson, who is as skilled, as big, and can play with finesse and skill away from the basket. And so that's a good matchup I'm looking forward to as well.
And see how he's going too, because JoJo struggled against Johnny Broome when they played Auburn.
Different kind of player, different kind of big man, but still, it's going to be another learning experience for JoJo, and the talent is there. And I haven't seen. I'm just trying to pull up the Texas Invitational that Joe Mendez touched on. Michael Timmons said, this is 2 hours ago, Kingston Flemings is a superstar. So this was 2 hours ago. So apparently he had his moments and shined in that game. So Cougs got another one on the way. And a different one, because he's a point guard, a true point guard, but he can score too. I mean, he had 48 last weekend in the tournament in I think Dayon's area of the state of Texas. So he can beat you with the ball, without the ball. So it's a positive. But yeah, let me see if he can. Michael Timmons got any stats on Kingston Flemings. Doesn't look like it. But it looks like one thing, Kingston Flemings is a closer. And that's something, I think Coach Sampson
at the high school level. High school level.
No, but Coach Sampson said in the previous post-game press conference this season that, last year we had Mariano Rivera talking about Jamal Shedd. So we'll see if Kingston Flemings can go and develop into that when he gets here. Because it is different when and the opponent knows. When clock's running down, the ball's going to be in whoever's hands. And that young man or woman, women's sports too, is going to get the job done and close out the victory. That's just you got the best player on the floor. Sometimes it doesn't matter what you do.
Right. Agreed. Yep.
That being said, real quick, once again, like to say thank you to our sponsors for today's episode of Let's Rage Coogs. Beginning with Steve Saxenian, again, the primary sponsor of not only this episode, but each and every single post-game show for both men's and for men's basketball and football post-game shows. So we'll be back at it around this time tomorrow when Houston and Baylor wrap up fighting on the gridiron. Obviously, the Cougars looking to finish their home schedule with a win, and the Houston blue jerseys, they're going to be looking sharp out there. So, and it'll be senior night, so they're going to be trying to send out the seniors with a home win to end, again, the home slate of the season. So join us for Let's Rage Coogs tomorrow after the game. And of course, we also like to say thank you to Star Pizza for being a secondary sponsor on today's episode. With 3 locations throughout the Houston area, Star Pizza is your go-to stop before or after the game. Make sure the next time you check them out at any one of the locations, tell them you heard about it on Let's Rage Coogs. Cougs helping Cougs. They've helped the University of Houston University of Houston athletics a lot over the course of the last handful of years. So big thank you to Mike and Jennifer Pittman for being a sponsor on today's episode of Let's Rage Coogs. That being said, Kris, Dayon, any closing thoughts on tonight's game against Hofstra? And we've kind of touched on Alabama, but again, there's going to be a quality opponents that Houston's going to be facing in that tournament. They'll play Notre Dame over the course of the weekend. They'll play somebody else. It'll be a really high caliber opponent to end the week. 3 strong games over the course of the next 7 days.
Yes, and just real quick, Kingston Fleming's team, San Antonio Brennan, is facing Fort Bend Marshall in the championship game of the Texas Invitational in Pasadena. So that's Two
That's
top
tomorrow?
teams right there. I think, yeah, tomorrow. Not sure the time yet, but yeah, that should be a great test for both squads. But tonight, Cougs do what they were expected to do. They're better than Hofstra. The defense was locked in. Good to see. Offensively, Emmanuel Sharp had it going from three. Mr. Tugler displayed his three-point shooting, was 2 for 2. He played well. Terrence Arsenault played well. So that's another positive sign for him, getting healthy and more confident. Now the fun begins. Going to Vegas, the team's first game against Alabama, two top 10 opponents. Was it on TBS? I think TBS?
Yes, TBS,
TBS
Tuesday's game.
Tuesday night at 7:30 our time. But thank you as always to Andy and Dayon for doing the job while I was getting post-game comments from Coach Sampson and JoJo Tugler and Mercy Miller. Thank you, everybody, for participating in the conversation of another edition of Let's Rage Coogs. We'll be back again in roughly 24 hours talking football and hopefully a Cougs win over Baylor. But as always, the Houston Round Bar Review since 1994. Local name, global perspective.
Yeah. I enjoyed the game tonight. I think it was just another opportunity to learn the team, learn the players. Although it's blowout fashion, look forward to these upcoming matchups, especially against Alabama. Like Kris said, the competitiveness. I want to see them compete against good competition. Looking forward to the next 3 games. I think this team has a lot of potential, can reach their goals and get over that hump. And I can just see the storyline. Coach Sampson revitalizing a program leads it to his first national championship and his first national championship. I can shed a tear. But as always, go Cougs.